From the New York Institute for the Humanities, I'm Eric Banks. According to Ryszard Kapuscinski, when he left Warsaw on his first foreign assignment to India in 1956, his editor handed him a copy of a book, Histories by Herodotus. In 2005, Kapuscinski visited the Institute to talk about his connection to the great Greek historiographer.
I was starting to write a book about my travels, my reflections of my life in South America, because I thought well, I'm going to write a trilogy. First volume was Africa, which was published as a Shadow of the Sun in the United States by Knopf. The second volume is Latin America, and the third volume is Asia. Third word is my subject, my field. But events happened of the 11th of September in America, which is a great repercussion in my country and in all this part of Europe, Central and Eastern Europe. And because of my past, my travels, my reporting about the world, they consider me suddenly as a specialist, as a globalist of the globalization problem, and started to insist on me to have lectures, to talk, to explain. So I have to stop writing a book and change to the subject of Islam, of globalization, of situation of our planet, and where the humanity is going, and so on and so on. So it took me those all the time till now. But in the summer this year, I was thinking that I have a little bit enough of this, and I have to find something more quiet to write about, not so immediate, not so urgent, not so emotional. And then, because I have a lot of other demands to write a textbook about non-fiction reporting, because with the development of media, electronics and everything, we have a big proliferation around the world of all journalistic schools, became one of the most popular faculty in the world now. I was in Madrid now, when we were small, we had in one town, which Madrid, they have 32,000 of students of journalistic departments in one town. And there is a lack of serious, important books. So they consider, because I'm working 40 years doing reporting all over the world, that I should write a book about reportage, non-fiction writing and everything, to be journalist and so on and so on. And I thought that this sort of books are generally boring. It's textbooks, it's not very, it doesn't give much possibility to express something, to say some novelty. And it comes to my mind that I will not write a book about reportage as such. I will not write a book only about myself. I have to find out the figure who was first and practically the only great reporter in the world. And that such a person was the person of Herodotus. Herodotus wrote a book which is still a classic and the best book of reportage in our planet, in history of literature. The book has been written 25 centuries ago. And the way the man was working was fascinating me since years, because he was exemplary in the way of understanding and collecting the material. Herodotus was the first globalist. He was the first man who understood that to understand history of his people and his country, you can do this only through understand the people and history of the others. And not only understand this, but also to accept it, to understand that the other peoples have this reason to behave this and this way, have the reasons to think this and this way. And he was, although he was Athenian, I mean, he was very concerned with the cause of Athens. It was practically his nation. Whatever he writes about the others, about his enemies, he writes with a very great respect to their culture and to their behavior. There is not a word of hate, there is not a word of rejection in all his writing. At reverse, he's trying to go to these people to talk to them, to understand what they mean, to understand what they are trying to, what are the motives of their behavior, why they do this. And he makes himself the translator of one culture to another. He understands that the way to survive the world as it is only through understanding and only through respect. There is no other way to save the world as it was during his time, which was a 5th century before the new era. So what was attracting me, it was how he was going to the sources, how he was collecting the material. There was no television, there was no radio, there was no electricity, there was no nothing. He has to make this way as all we reporters are doing today, by going, by seeing, by talking, by trying to understand, by reading, by discussing. And there's a constant obsession of him, constant fascination of him. What the problem, and he's putting this in the first sentence, there's a problem of memory. He wants to write a book to save the memory. And to save the memory is one reason. And the second reason is how it's happened that these two grand civilizations with enormous achievements and resources, which admits of both equally, come to conflict. What the reasons was that East and West are fighting together, are going to the war. What was a mechanism who forced these two civilizations to go to the war? That was his concern. That was his element of his study, of trying to understand. That's what he makes these journeys, to the different parts of the world as it was understood by this. So he was trying to understand the other people. There are two obstacles, except of technical problems of transportation and all this. The first obstacle on this way of understanding is the problem. The first memory is that each of us has a different memory. Each of us remember the same story, the same event in different ways and different elements of it. So the problem of us, of reporter, is that when we come to some place, we are trying to get the information. We are receiving information from different sources, and the information are very different because a memory is a very individualistic thing. And memory is, there is second problem with memory, is that memory is working all time, that memory is changing all time. That we never come to the point that we have one memory and one time. Because once we approach the same memory, we are facing that this memory has already changed. That's the way that Soviet KGB people was working with the prisoners during the Stalinist terror time. There's a way of accusing the man was to take him to the prison and to ask him to write his version of his life. Then they put him 1 week just staying in the cell, not doing nothing. After 1 week, they called him. They said, write your version of your life. He was writing. Then after 1 week, they put him back. They asked him again. They said, write your version of your life. After 3 or 4 such events, they compared this. And the most private thing, which we consider the most important, the unique, which we really know, was that each of this version was different in somehow. And that was the fundamental of the reason of accusation. You see, you are a liar. Because every time you are about the same event, you are saying different things. In this report, you are saying that you enter through left doors. But the other, you are saying that you are enter through right doors. That you are saying that it was 8 o'clock. But here you are saying that it was 8:50. What is the truth? Everything is pure lie. It means that our accusation is reasonable because you are unable to say how it really was. So the memory can work against us. The work of the memory and the whole problem of the memory It's a problem of utmost importance, of great importance. And that was a question which Herodotus would face also. He heard some story. He was going there. He met the people. And each of the people were telling him another story. So his solution was that he is writing in the book that I came to this place, and these people say me this, these people say me this, these people say me this. He's very objective. He's trying to show his problem, which version is true, which version is to be accepted. And he says this. Sometimes he said, I don't know, I am unable to say this. Sometimes he said, I believe this, but I'm doubtful about this version. He's very human. He's sharing his doubts, his problems with us, with readers. He's just showing how history is relativities of the history process, and what he's doing and what he's important in the book is that he's not trying to show how was the factual history, how was real event. He's trying to show us how the people remember and understand the event. It's an important difference. He's not trying to establish the real truth because it is impossible. He's trying to relate to us how the people understand and what they read, what they remember, what they see. Because he understands that the people are not deciding about his moves and decision through what really take place. That people decisions and moves are decided by what they think about this, what they believe it was a truth. So it is a great shift in the subject in which people are motivated by their decision and how history is going. History is going not through the process of facts. History is going through the process of our thinking about the historical process and our understanding this and our belief in this. People are motivated by his beliefs, not by the facts which are really taken place and which reality or which veracity is practically impossible to establish and even has no such importance. The importance of the veracity was coming only to human existence only with invention of writing history. But this is a very short period of human existence and human history. And it never was the way that this writing history was the only source of our thinking and understanding. Because even today, we are moved not so much by the writing history, because very few people comparatively read the historical books and understand them. Most of us are motivated and are moved by what we hear and what we create out of these things which were here, how we create the stereotypes and all this. So that was his fascination. I remember I have very personal proof of this. I have a sister which is only a year younger than me, and she lives in Vancouver. A few years ago, I came to the idea that I have to write eventually, because everybody asked me to write a book about Pinsk, my native small town in Belarus. Everything exists only in my memory, because if I will not write about, I was the only writing man from Pinsk. So if I will not write the book about pre-war Pinsk, this will disappear. This will disappear. Nobody is alive among my friends who was able to write this. So I asked the people that are sending me photos, that are sending me memories, and so on. But most of the people have died or were killed in concentration, were killed in ghetto and gulags and so on. Very few people survived. So I went to my sister. Her name is Barbara. So we were always together. And the time was terrible. It was a war time, nothing, hunger, food. And I asked her, Barbara, what you remember, tell me. And then he started he was 7 years old at that time. He started me his relation. I compare with my memories. and it comes completely two different stories. She asked me, do you remember as the soldiers came to our house and the Russian soldiers, they stretched, the picture was on the wall? I said, I don't remember. But it was like this. You remember that was a night and it was very scared. And I said, what's that? And suddenly you are receiving completely two different stories of the people who are not separated for 1 second. And this is a problem which historians are meeting and which Herodotus already was aware of this. He knows that you are not able to establish any coherent truth, that what we are able is to study the state of our memories and of our remembrance. He understood very well at that time. He was the first man in our culture. I don't know enough the Chinese culture, I don't know enough the Hindi culture. I can't say about this. I'm speaking about more or less European or Western culture, how to say it. That we are living in the world who is multicultural world by definition. That is a structure of the world. That you can't imagine the world out of this structure. And without understanding this, you can understand the world. So that is the first question which was very strong in his mind. He was the first anthropologist. At that time, science like anthropology, geography, psychology was not yet separated. It was one knowledge. He was the first anthropologist. He understood that to understand other men or other people, you can do it only through understand their culture. There is no other way. He by his example and by his work, to convey to us this fundamental truth. And he's trying to convey to us the understanding that the past, that the memory of the past is so fundamental to our identity. We are now in contemporary culture completely surrounded and flooded with the contemporary information, with the contemporary blah, 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 which is going, and is keeping our mind busy permanently with this small and unimportant or distorted information. But with these people have no media at that time, the sort of media we have. So for them, the information of the past was a part of the information of the present. And it was very important also to know the past for two reasons. One was that exactly, that the information of the past was the information of the present. But secondly, because at that time was not yet nations. Because we have the state now, and state resolved for us the problem of identity. I'm French citizen, I'm American citizen, I'm Brazilian citizen, I'm Polish citizen, finished. But there was not state at that time. So the roots of clan, of tribe, of small place, was the only source of identity of the man. And that's why for the people it was so important to describe and to find to whom they belonged. Because state couldn't make for them this work. They have themselves, individually, each of them, the clans, the families, to establish their trace or their characteristic of their identity. That was the reason that the memory was so important. That was the reason that up to now, in certain African tribes, you have these professional memorizers. You have these people who are called, for example, in French, Mali or Guinea, or let's say called griots. They are people who are being respected because they remember the past. because they can tell who was their ancestor. Because there are two things which can keep the collective memory of our roots. And there is fire and there is shade. Because there are two things which in hot country can unite the people. The shade in the daytime, the fire in the evening and the night. That's a place to group the people. That's a place to recreate and to create the collective memory. If there is no wood to make a fire, and if you cut the tree, that there will be no shade, the memory will be killed. The identity will disappear. So it is such a delicate relation between the memory and the things which are so unstable, so delicate, like fire and the shade.
This podcast has been brought to you by the New York Institute for the Humanities at NYU in conjunction with the Arthur L. Carter Journalism Institute. Our producers are Annika Kaundinya and Ben Branstein. Our thanks to Uli Baer and, for their technical and design acumen, Aaron Dowdy and Selena Lukazi. For more information, or if you'd like to subscribe to our podcast, visit our website at, and this is one word, nyihumanities.org. Again, that's nyihumanities.org.